right time, right? I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Yes, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Does that feel good? I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Yeah. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. You're in the right place at the right time. You are just where you're supposed to be. Yes, we're in the right place at the right time. We are just where we're supposed to be. We're in the right place at the right time. We are just where we're supposed to be. Here we go. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Good morning, Unity Palo Alto.
Good morning. My name is Reverend John Riley, and I have the joy of serving as your senior minister here at Unity Palo Alto Spiritual Center, and I'd like to welcome you to our Sunday service. If those of you, and welcome all of you, it's nice to see you all here in the sanctuary. For those of you who are watching online or during the week, know that you're in our hearts and in our prayers, and you are in the right place at the right time right now. If you're new to Unity, what we want you to know is that Unity is a global spiritual community welcoming people from all walks of life. People looking for a deeper expression of spirit, a greater sense of health, wholeness, and abundance. People looking for spiritual growth, transformation, and to do life better. We teach positive, practical spiritual principles that you can apply in your life every day to help you live a more joyful and abundant life. We're so blessed this morning to have with us Rusty Gillard as our platform leader, joining us on the platform. Deborah Winters as our soloist. Russell Norman on piano. And so with that, we will begin our service with our opening song. So I'll invite you all to stand as Deborah leads us.
I am free, I am unlimited. Let's really sing that like we mean it. You know what I mean? These songs, it's like I teach voice, and you want to sing a song that means something, right? The lyrics have to say something that means something to you. So here we go. And we are. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am
Please be seated. Welcome to Unity Palo Alto. We are so glad that you are here in person, that you are joining us online, either live today, Sunday morning, or later in the week. You are all welcome here. We are not just gathered here in Unity in Palo Alto, but Unity, in fact, is part of a worldwide movement of prayer, publishing, and education, teaching positive, practical, spiritual principles so that you can live a better life, so you can be happier, you can be more abundant, and just have a better experience of life. And I'm all for that. I assume you guys are too. Word! For those of you who were here a number of Sundays ago, Casey Wicker threw that out there, and it's stuck. Unity here in Palo Alto, we have 5 principles that we follow that guide us in deepening our spiritual practice and living more abundantly. The first principle is God is, that there is one power and presence active in the universe. That is God, the good, omnipotent. The second principle is I am, that power is not out there somewhere. In fact, it is in here. It is in me. It is in each one of you. And it is in all of creation. The third principle is the law of mind action, that thoughts and mind produce after their kind. We have the ability to shape our world and our experience of the world through our thinking. The fourth principle is the practice of meditation and prayer, because it is through meditation and prayer that we connect with the creative, constructive power of God inside of us and bring that out into the world and in our life. The fifth principle is daily practice, not just here on Sundays, not just once in a while, but every day. We get to practice these principles, and as we do that, we find that life gets better, and we express more and more of the divine within us. It is through these 5 principles that allow us to, as we practice them, to live into our vision statement, which is on the screen behind me, and there it is. I invite you to all say it together with me. Centered in God, we co-create a world that works for all, and so it is. And now a solo from Deborah.
You will do amazing things. Amazing. You will do, I know you will do amazing things. You will do amazing things.
And now a reading from the Daily Word. Today's daily word is simplicity. I will read the affirmation and then invite you to say it together with me. I pause to appreciate life's simplest blessings. All together, I pause to appreciate life's simplest blessings. Today, I give thanks for the simplest blessings, the small things that bring a smile to my lips and a warm feeling to my heart. A hug from a friend, a cuddle from a grandchild, or stroking the soft fur of a beloved pet fills my awareness with love. The sudden lift I get from seeing the name of a favorite person show up in my email, or the thrill of spotting a rainbow after a cleansing rain shower, spark lasting happiness in my heart. These things and more remind me that true contentment is found in life's smallest moments, the everyday treasures that comprise daily life and draw me close to God. I focus on these simple blessings and grow in gratitude for my life's many gifts. The scripture lesson is from Psalm 144, verse 15. Happy are the people to whom such blessings fall. Happy are the people whose God is the Lord.
If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be that we're all okay. And not to worry, 'cause worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless, won't be idle with despair. I will gather myself around my faith, for light to the darkness most fear. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and we are never broken. Poverty stole your golden shoes, it didn't steal your laughter, and heartache came to visit me, but I knew it wasn't ever after. We'll fight, not out of spite, for someone must stand up for what's right. For where there's a man who has no voice, theirs ours will go on singing. Oh, my hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and I am never broken. In the end, holy kindness matters. In the end, holy kindness matters. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. Yes, I will get down on my knees and I will pray. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and I am never broken. Never broken. We are God's hands. We are God's mind. We are God's eyes. We are God's thoughts. We are God's hands. We are God's mind. We are God's heart.
Well, good morning. Is it okay if we sit? There, we gotta be centered. Okay, wait. Okay.
I got to get it right. Got to get it right.
Well, we are here for part 3 of the art and practice of living as if nothing and no one were against you. How you doing so far? Great. All right. That's fantastic. I guess we're done.
Yeah. That was easy.
Well, what we thought we would do today is just kind of recap where we got, how we got here. And if there are any questions, you can text us some questions. Felix, can you go ahead and go to the next slide? And we'll put, there's the phone number. If you have your phones, you can use the QR code and just text us a question, and we'll answer it during the service. But we want to start with how we started. So 2 weeks ago, I began with part 1. And the idea is really what Deborah was singing about today. Be your best self. How to be your best self. And I started with a few different points. One of them was start with your why. What is your why for life? What brings you passion? What creates that? When you are your best self, what does that look like? And part of that why is looking at your values, the things that really come alive in you when you're being your best self. And it may be something like love or compassion or enthusiasm or joy. But then taking it to the next level is, what does love look like in your life? How do you show up that way? And the reason we do that is to start learning how to give ourselves that love internally so we can rise to our best self without trying to seek it outside of us. The second principle was judge not. Because it's our judgments about things that create the suffering in our life. And it's usually the judgment about, what somebody should or shouldn't do, or what I should or shouldn't do. It's not, judgment is a very powerful and important component in our lives. Judging not to put your hand in a fire, for example. But when we start to judge other people, that's what creates the suffering within us and gives us that lens that someone is against us. And then the third point was being either above or below the line. So those first two things kind of empower us to show up. And this is a great leadership metaphor, and it's based on the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leaders, the book. And if you're above the line, you are committed to being open, to being curious, and to learning. And when you're below the line, you are committed to being closed, you're committed to being right, and you're committed to being defensive. Now, the things below the line tend to just burst out at us, right? They just kind of take over us when we get into some situation where we feel diminished, where we feel uncomfortable, where there's chaos in the world. And those are the natural, reactions to life. So the practice of the first two help us to remember to be committed to being curious, to being committed to being open, and instead of being right, being committed to learning. So those were the 3 tools that we gave you the first week.
The opportunity to apply those tools is one of the things we talked about last week, which was when you connect with that better part of yourself, life feels pretty good. So you come on Sunday morning and you come out of here energized and excited and passionate and connected, and you feel pretty good. But then, of course, you go back out in the world and things happen. John talked just a moment ago about some of the chaos that's out in the world that can be a little bit, kind of pushes us around. And I described last week this idea of being out in the ocean and there's a storm, and there's wind and waves, and there's things going on the surface of the ocean, and it can push us around. But deeper than that, if you go down in the ocean, if you go down 10 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, the water is still and calm. And we have that same sense inside of us. We have that stillness and calmness inside of us, but sometimes we forget to connect with it because there's all this noise up here at the surface. So we came into the sanctuary this morning here at Unity, and the microphones didn't work, and you turn one on and it's coming out over here but not over here, and there was a lot of scrambling going on for 20 minutes, 25 minutes to try to figure out, is anyone going to hear us? And maybe for all the experts out there, they just roll with it, they're fine with it. But for me, I'm not an expert in that way. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what's going to happen. It's 5 minutes before we're about to start the service, and the microphones aren't working yet. And I noticed, oh, look at the noise. There's noise going on, and it shows up everywhere in our life. And that's what we talked about last time, is how do you get that practice to connect with that deeper, calmer part of you when there's noise? So I might ask you, John, how did you handle it this morning?
So, to be
Not
fair,
to put you on the spot.
so I grew up in high tech, and I did a lot of trade shows and things like that, and nothing ever worked when you first put it together. So you just kind of got used to it. So on one hand, I was being that calm presence within me, and the other hand, I grabbed a bucket and I was bailing out the boat as quickly as I could. So I think it's both. It's first be centered and be calm and realize, okay, something's happening here. And in my head, it's just like, well, if nothing works, what's the next best scenario? How can we, use one microphone or something like that? So, but it's having that calm center and then bailing as quickly as you can. Because sometimes that's what you have to do.
It's actually a great point, because the calmness does not mean you don't do anything.
Right.
And that's what I appreciate, right? There's still bailing going on. I was chatting with someone earlier who was describing to me an issue going on in their home where the neighbor's sprinkler system had broken and all the water was coming into his backyard. And this went on for a few days, and of course he went to the neighbor and he said, what's going on? Well, the neighbor's renting, so that renter is not going to fix it, so they're trying to contact the owner, but meanwhile, every morning at 7 o'clock, he's watching the water flow into his backyard. And he finally got it fixed. But how did he get it fixed? By calling the neighbor multiple times and finally saying, it needs to be fixed today. This cannot go on. This is damaging my backyard, and this is dangerous, and you need to get it fixed. But to be able to do that from a sense of calm and a sense of peace. And I think that's what's so interesting about this idea of living as if nothing and no one is against you, is it doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't mean you do nothing. But how can you show up in the world in a calm and grounded place and still stand up for what needs to get done?
Yeah. And I just want to circle back to the microphones this morning, because one of the tools that we talked about was radical responsibility. Do you remember that? Taking full ownership of what's mine to own. And not taking ownership of what someone else's to own. So in reality, me bailing the boat had absolutely no effect whatsoever in solving the problem. It was the experts doing their job. It made me feel better. But you see, that's the realization. That's the part of self-awareness that needs to be built. Another dimension of this is understanding yourself and being honest with yourself about what's real and what isn't real. Being honest with yourself about what's simply story that I'm making up versus what's data. So on one hand, I'm checking packs, but the reality is Rob knew exactly what to do, and once he figured it out, he fixed it, and we were all good. So congratulations to Rob. Give Rob a big round of applause. We have microphones.
So one of the questions we got via text message, and is it still up there? No. Felix, maybe you can stick the slide up there again.
You can just leave it there for a while.
So if you do have a question, that's why I'm looking at my phone periodically, is to see if anybody has texted a message. So I'm not checking my email. Yeah, sure. But one of the questions we did get via text was, this is great, I understand it in theory, but how do I do it? What do I actually do in those moments? And I want to kind of pick apart some of the things that John has already been saying. And he said, start with number one, recognize what's going on, right? You have to recognize it. And I recognized it this morning as I'm sitting here waiting for the service to start, and I notice I'm anxious. I was like, oh, recognize. I'm anxious. I'm going to give you 3 R's. The first one is recognize. The second one, which can be helpful, is not always necessary, is to relocate. Because oftentimes the source of your stress is in the environment around you. So if you can relocate temporarily to someplace else, I could walk outside, for example, and take a breath of fresh air. Or if you're in a room with somebody, you can excuse yourself and walk away for a moment before coming back. But that relocation can help. And the third step is to reset. How do you reset? Well, we did a little exercise of that last week. But it's about remembering that there is more here than what you're experiencing in that moment. We tend to get so honed in on the challenges in life. And it's like, oh my gosh, the only thing I can think about is the microphone not working and my anxiety around that. But there's so much more happening here right now in this moment. And even 30 minutes ago, when we were in the middle of that, there was so much more happening. And so that's the reset, is to remember there is more going on. You are more than what is happening in that moment. And to reconnect with that part of you that is more.
So say the 3 words again.
Recognize, I think that's, did I say that right? Recognize, relocate, and reset.
And reset. So I want to dive into that relocate for just a little bit, because sometimes it's not just a physical relocation, it's a mental relocation. The source of it may have been the water streaming into the backyard, yes? But the source of my suffering around it resides where? Right here. So if I recognize that right away, okay, here's the source, I'm calm, without the attachment to what's occurring, without the resistance to what's occurring, without the catastrophe or the stress or strain about it, but go back to that presencing. When you realize that you're being stressed or strained, go back first to the why, to better self, your better self. And then from that place, make the phone call. So sometimes a lot of us like music, right? And music is a great way to lift us up. And so we'll go to the music and we'll play it and we'll feel lifted up. And what's really happening is that we are tuning into our own reservoir of safety, security, of self-compassion and self-love. And when you can do that effectively, then you can be present to it and make that phone call without using language that I might have used if I was not present. So there's an example of this, and one of the dimensions of nothing and no one against you is understanding that it's really not about the other person, and it's really not about you. So when I was in high tech years ago, it was in software, and very fast paced, and I had a dear friend, now a / colleague, who was just struggling with another person that he worked with. And so we would talk about it, and of course we were triangulating about it, we were gossiping about it, and I was feeling sympathy for him, right? I was adding fuel to the fire. I can't believe that's happening to you. That guy needs to get fired. This needs to happen. You're better than that. And then what I realized, once he and I were on a project together and something started to go wrong, he started doing the same thing to me. And now the gossip is all around me. John's not doing his job. John should do this. Job isn't good enough for this. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And at the time, before I got spiritually enlightened, I was triggered. I was suffering. And I was responding. No, sorry, I was reacting. And so the process is, the reality is, I wasn't being my highest self, my best self. He wasn't being his best self. That's not his true self, because he was a good friend of mine, and I know who he is. He was just stressed, and he was afraid of getting run over by the bus. So he threw me instead. So it really wasn't about me, right? It really wasn't about him, his higher self, as Deborah sang in the song, that I can see that star within you, I can see that light within you, right? It was about his wounded self, or his scared self, or his little kid who was afraid of making a mistake. That's not who he is. So it's not really about him. That behavior exhibited it. And then my reactions were not really about me, right? That was me on anger. That was me on Skippy, my shadow twin Skippy, which isn't my true self either. It's me reacting. So when you realize it's not about the other person, you know, their anger towards you, that detaches it from you and allows you to have compassion for yourself. Yes, some of the data was probably correct. Some of the data was wrong. And if I go back to the data, I can own what was mine to own. Radical responsibility. And I can let go of what isn't mine to own because it's not me. If I hold on to it, then I'm coming back angry. So it's realizing that it's not really about you. It's not really about the other person, right? It's about our inner reaction to it. And so relocate ourselves from, sometimes you can't relocate physically, but we can relocate mentally and get back into that state, that frame of mind of being our best self, going back to your why, going back to your values, and re-anchoring yourself in that.
There's something here that kind of what you're saying, John, and one of the questions we got that reminds me of a study that was done at the Harvard Divinity School, where they took groups of people who were studying there, and they divided them into 3 different groups. And they all were to give a sermon that Sunday that was vaguely around helping other people. And so one group was instructed to give a sermon about why they were studying to become a priest. The second group was instructed to give a sermon specifically about the story of the Good Samaritan, which hopefully do people know the Good Samaritan story? Yeah? Okay, I see some nods. Some do, some don't. Briefly, it's about somebody stopping to help someone on the side of the road. So that was the second group, was to give a story about that, a sermon about that. And the third group was to give a sermon about why they were, did I say that already? Why they were becoming a priest? Yes, okay. So why they're becoming a priest, the Good Samaritan, and their favorite scripture story, their favorite story from Scripture. So those were the 3 groups. Then, because this was a psychological study, and these guys are really sneaky, they had somebody on the steps of the church who was in need, right? So pretending, this was an actor, right? Not a real story, but this was someone on the steps of the church who was clearly in need and asking for help. And so the question was, which group of people was most likely to stop and help the person on the steps of the church? Was it the group who was talking about why they became a priest? Was it the group who was talking about the Good Samaritan story, which is a story about helping someone on the side of the road? Or was it the group who was giving a sermon on their favorite scripture lesson? I hear a vote for number 3. Everyone probably has a little thing in their mind. Well, so here's the actual answer. It's none of the above. The actual answer is the people who did not stop were the ones who were told they were late. They were late getting to the service, and so they were in a rush, and they saw this person, but they said, I'm in a rush, and I'm late to the service. I've got to just go past this person and go directly into the service. How is this connected with what we're talking about? Well, it's connected because sometimes it feels like we're rushed, or we're in a difficult situation, or in some way life is against us. And we're short on something. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough good things going on in our lives. And in those moments, what do we tend to do? We tend to close down a little bit. We tend to get narrower. So this opportunity to use these 3 R's once again, to recognize what's going on, to relocate physically or mentally, and then to reset. I was looking this morning online to get refreshed on this story, but when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated many years ago, he had a number of things on his body, on his person, when he was found, and one of those was a wallet. And when they opened up the wallet, there were a number of newspaper clippings in there, which were positive stories about him and the way he was handling the war. And you could tell by the creases in the paper, the way it was folded, that it wasn't just folded and stored in his wallet, that it was put in his wallet and removed and folded again and put back, and then removed and unfolded and read and folded again, because there were pretty strong creases in the newspaper. What does that mean? Well, he carried positive affirmations around with him in his wallet. Does anyone here do that? Could we? Yes, I see a nod. That's fantastic. What are the good things that you have done in your life? We all have them. That's a great way to reset. Put a little list. Write a list. Put it in your wallet of good things from your life, things that you've done that you feel good about. These are ways to reset. In those moments when you're in a hurry, you can put it on your phone, of course. In those moments when you're in a hurry. In those moments when you're tempted to shut down and say, I just got to take care of number one here. Don't worry about anybody else. In those moments when you realize it and you can reset. And that list can be a helpful way to do that.
That really brings to mind this idea of kind of that other dimension of nothing and no one against you is self-compassion, self-love, being kind to yourself. And when we reset, when we are stressed, when we are running around, when we are late, we forget about the other things. We forget about being who we are. Forget about the beingness. We're too busy about the doingness, right? What can I do? What can I do to support you? And when we find ourselves, that self-awareness of finding ourselves in that moment allows us to have more self-compassion, to reset ourselves, and to know that it's okay. It's okay that we forgot. We will all have our ups and downs, and it's all okay. All of those things that we call our shadow self, or all of those things that we're not, that come out, it's okay. Because deep down inside, that's just the part of you that's afraid. And so deep down inside, that's the part of you that's hurt. And that gives us the ability to really reset ourselves in that centeredness of you're okay, you're safe, you're a beautiful, as we sang earlier, all these songs are like perfect for today's talk. You're beautiful. How's the song go, Deborah? I love myself the way I am. Come on up here.
I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change.
Together? I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. Yeah.
I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange.
I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange.
I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can.
I'm beautiful. I'm capable of being the best me I can.
And I love myself just the way I am.
And I love myself just the way I am. Thank you, Deborah.
I'm just reminded of something, which is, we're talking about this nothing and no one against you, and a lot of these ideas come from a class, which I mentioned last week in the talk, that I took that class when I first joined Unity, and then I took it again, was it this year? I think it was earlier this year, and took it a second time. It's a fantastic class, so it's going to be offered again, yes?
It's on the calendar, it's on our website, yep.
Excellent. So if this content is interesting to you, there's a whole class on how to apply it, which obviously will go deeper than what we are able to do here in this talk. So check it out.
Ding. Well, and that really brings us to mind. Pretty much every class that we offer here is a way for you to either deepen your experience, your practice, a way to help you bring that side of you that you're not proud of into the light, to give it some love. So we call it cleanup classes or deepening classes, like Eric's meditation after the service today. There are just so many ways, and all of our practices are geared towards helping us live this more fully, helping us put it into practice in our life. Do you have anything else to say? You want to go into meditation?
I had one other short thing to say.
Go for it.
In the story you were telling just a minute ago about your coworker and the situation there, you said, well, that was before, I was enlightened spiritually. And those words always catch my attention because, I have this dream that someday I'll, be, I don't know, meditating, walking down the street, listening to John's talk, and the clouds will part and a ray of light will come down and shine upon me, and I will from there forth evermore glow. I'm still waiting. And, so actually I was talking to John about this earlier this week, and I said, do you need to have a spiritual awakening? Do you need to have a moment like that in your life? And I'm trying to remember what John said now. But I'll tell you my view of that. It's like, I've never had that. I've never had that ray of light moment. Sure, it would be wonderful, and I've talked to people who have, and John has actually shared a little of his experience where he had something like that, but I have not, and I don't think you need to have that. But that's what I love about coming to Unity, and coming here on Sundays, but you going to the classes and practicing and meditating and taking these 5 principles and trying your best to apply them on a daily basis. One of the questions we got was like, hey, I know how great meditation is, but man, is it hard to do on a regular basis. And, I think that's been my experience. When I first started meditating, 2 minutes felt like an eternity. And it's been many years of practice. And there were months when I didn't meditate at all. But I keep coming back, and I keep coming back. And so I just wanted to mention that, related to the classes and to the experience at Unity, and this idea that you don't have to have this one aha moment that changes your life from that point forward, that it is a practice, and it's an opportunity to continue to deepen.
Would you like me to enlighten you, Rusty?
Yes, John, I would.
So the reality is, yes, I am a human and I am spiritual and I have my ups and downs and I still get triggered. Everyone take a nice deep breath. The minister gets triggered. What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here? And I've been practicing the art and practice of living with nothing and no one against you. It's called the Quantum Living class now. I've been doing this for 6 years now. Before that, I was doing Byron Katie's The Work, and I was in 2 8-month immersion programs where I did 1 worksheet a day, the work worksheet a day, and on the days that I missed, a couple of times I would do 2 or 3 later on in the week. And so this was for 8 months straight, and I did it because I wanted to feel that joy. That was my why. I wanted to be in a better space, and I still do. That's why I still do the work. At some point in time, I realized the way I was doing the worksheets is it became spiritual bypassing for me. It's just a way to kind of avoid what was the core root underneath it, which is why I sought out quantum living, which gets behind, you look behind the stories, right, to see what's really back there. So yes, we're all still works in progress. As long as you're breathing, we are works in process. And there is no one right only way to have a growth experience or an enlightenment experience. I've had a few, and it all came through meditation, but I'm a very feeling person. So my experiences are very feeling in nature. And those who are more thinking in nature, they will have more thinking experiences. And the way to tell is just by looking back in time. I am a different person than I was 6 years, 10 years, or 20 years ago. And if you can look back and say, oh, I've come a long way, how does that make you feel? Isn't it amazing? There's your spiritual awakening. It's just like, oh, I'm not triggered by this as much anymore. Oh, look, I would have reacted differently before. And just noticing, oh, okay, I'm making progress.
Can I just share briefly? I think it was the 5th call to AT&T just earlier this week, and it was with my mom on the phones. We had to conference us in, and she's in a different state, so we were conferenced, and we get AT&T, and we went through 3 different agents at AT&T on this particular call. 30 minutes later, and my mom says, Rusty, you're so calm. And it was one of those moments that John just described, because I was like, how about that? I am calm. Because if that had been me 5 or 7 or 8 years ago, I would have been losing it, let me tell you.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. Are there any questions that came in while we were talking?
There was just one more that I want to mention, which was this question about, well, I've had these experiences in life that were traumatic, and so many things that happen today keep tying back to those past traumatic experiences. So I don't know if you want to just have a brief comment on that.
Yeah, in fact, that's where a lot of our suffering comes from the stories that we've held on to from our past, the traumatic experiences in the past. Now, with Quantum Living class, what we do is we do take a look back at those traumatic experiences with the goal of healing that younger self and helping that younger self. Because as you heal those wounds that are back there in the past, it kind of unwinds all of the stories that you have, and it allows you to be more present. And if you'll notice that those triggers are pretty much the same thing. They're just different people, different situations, but the same trigger. Now, it's not therapy, right? We're not licensed therapists. If it's something that's really traumatizing, then that's something for therapy. What we do at Quantum Living is awareapy, right? It's those things that have triggered you that you're aware of, to become more aware of, to become aware of how that's affected you, and then to heal that little kid in you from the past. And if it's too much, and we have a rule, right? We look at all of these things on a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is, your head is exploding. And we practice in the 3 to 4 range, because it's the same thing. They're really all connected. And if you can practice with the paper cuts, the light things, then you become more adept at it. And that awareapy works really well to bring you into greater understanding and to healing through that process. Yeah. And there's nothing, the key here again is self-compassion. Can you give yourself self-compassion and self-love? Because it's not you. It's a story that you're holding on to about you. And if you can start to release that story about you, then the true you, that divine self, that better self, that best self that you can be, you'll start experiencing it more and more. And as you do, then you can look back a year and say, oh, wow, I've come a long way. And give yourself a big hug, just like the song says. You've come a long way, baby. Yeah. I think it's time for us to move into it. This has been a lot of fun. Did you like it? Okay.
You can send your comments in by text.
Oh, there it is. So let's just take a moment to turn within. Do you want to do this together? I'll get them calm. You can take it from there. As we settle in, I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. As we begin to tune out the outer world, the world of sense consciousness, the experiences, the stories that are floating around, whatever's been bubbled up in this experience, we allow our emotions to settle and our bodies to become relaxed. And just take a moment to scan your mind, your emotions, your body, and see if there's any stress or strain, any tension, and relax that area. If you're having trouble, what you can do is put your focus in your feet and wiggle your toes and feel the earth beneath you. That power of gravity just draining you of all the stress and the strain. And as it does, you can breathe into your heart space. Breathe in gratitude. As Rusty taught last week, and you can use your hands and physically just feel that gratitude flow within you. Fill you up with love and appreciation. love for your better self, for your highest self.
Allow that feeling to start to glow inside of you, almost like a light. You may feel it bright, you may feel it dim at first, but concentrate on it. Feed it. Trust that that light is you and your essence. And allow it to glow and radiate through your whole body. The essence of and light of love, creativity, goodness, wholeness, unity with all that is. And rest in that place of peace and love and wholeness and silence. As we rest in that place of love and creativity and abundance, we feel also a wave of gratitude for life, for abundance, for this community, for all the loved ones in our lives, and the opportunity to live this day. And with that gratitude, we bring to mind all the loved ones in our lives, all the people we care about, we think about on a daily basis, we interact with, and we send them a wave of blessing, extending this circle of love and light to those we care about and to those for whom we pray. Personally, for those who are in our prayer box here as a part of the Unity Palo Alto community. Whether close to us geographically or far away, we encircle them with love and we see the same light inside of them. And we continue to expand that circle of love and light to all people here in Palo Alto, in the state of California, across the United States and around the whole world, seeing them living as their best self, shining their light in the world. We also hold all of our world, national, state, and local leaders in our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers, seeing them making wise and good decisions for the welfare of all people, living from this place of light inside of them.
And in this moment, in this prayerful space, I invite you to hold our dear friend, Mary McMahon. She very unexpectedly made her transition on Thursday in her sleep. Peacefully, we are told. And so we hold our dear friend in our heart, knowing that she is truly free and unlimited in this moment. And we hold each other in our hearts, holding each other in that space of love, of compassion and understanding, just knowing that we are here for each other. And as we do, we feel uplifted. We feel our sense of purpose, to be kind and generous, to be compassionate and whole, and to support one another in spiritual community. We allow our best self to shine today in whatever chaos comes our way. And for this truth, for this loving energy and the power of love within us, for our knowing our oneness with the allness of life, love, and wisdom, for that experience of love flowing through us, we celebrate by singing the Alleluia. And with a nice, deep, cleansing breath, let us return our attention to this time and this space. And then gently open our eyes, if we haven't already done so, and just allow that sense of love, compassion, kindness to be our guide this week. If you are in need of prayer today, we have prayer chaplains who are ready to serve. Would our prayer chaplains please stand? Our prayer chaplains are here to lovingly listen, to hold sacred space with you, to affirmatively pray with you, and in confidence. And you can find them right where they're standing after the service. Thank you so much for serving our spiritual community in this way. Unity Palo Alto is here to help you discover that spiritual magnificence within you and to live from that every day in every way. Our transformational purpose statement is transforming lives and inspiring people to be a positive good in the world today. For you are the good news that the world needs. Yes? Yes. We are here because of your generous donations. We are self-sustaining based on your donations, and there's so many ways in which you can give to our spiritual community. But however you decide to give with love. Give with that love in your heart. Give freely and allow that love to flow from you. For it's the manner in which we give to life that life gives back to us. The affirmation that we say is on the screen, and I invite you to affirm it with me together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And so it is.
We hide pain in the weirdest places, broken souls with smiling faces, fighting for surrender, for now and the ever after, yeah. Just look around and you'll see that people are scared to say how they really feel. All we need is a little honesty. You are loved if your heart's in 1,000 pieces. If you're lost and you're far from reason, look within and know you are loved. Look within and know you are loved. When it feels like something's missing, if it hurts and you can't find healing, just look in and know you are loved. Just look in and know you are loved. We're not made to be superheroes, photoshopped and all size zeros, alike not expected. Look within, you're a gift of perfection.
You are love. Yes? Yes. Well, let's just take a moment and just celebrate that together. Just send that wave of love and blessing out to one another here in celebration of the time that we've spent together here on Sunday and this community that we are a part of here on Sunday and that carries with us through the whole week. Let's just celebrate that for a moment, whether you want to put your hand on your heart or put your hands up in the air, whatever feels right to you, but just celebrate this community that we have here in Unity. Wonderful. We talked a little bit earlier about the classes, which you can find. The Art of Quantum Living is what this class is now called, previously called the Art and Practice of Living as If Nothing and No One is Against You. You can find that on the website, but that's not the only thing. There are many other things going on here at Unity Palo Alto. First of all, right after the service begins the beginning of a series of classes, which is going to be taught by our very own Eric Armstrong. Energy, flow, yoga, and meditation. This is something that, when you think about yoga, this is not going to be, twisting yourself up into pretzel shapes. This is going to be very friendly to people of all physical conditions. So this is a great way to connect with your own inner energy and find that light inside of you and live more and more from that place. So you're welcome to join today after the service, and it's going to be going on through mid-June with one Sunday exception around Memorial Day. Secondly, the midweek uplift. So every Wednesday on Zoom, this happens at 8:30 in the morning with Reverend John. Once again, a nice opportunity to connect during the week. Another way to practice. So you're invited to join that with Reverend John on Zoom. You can get the details at unitypaloalto.org. Also, coming up and all the time is the Unity Choir. So you can get details. The choir rehearses Thursdays evenings at 7 o'clock with Margot. So you can get details by emailing Margot, voicedbymargot@yahoo.com. And then the last announcement is that we are having pickup parties. And so for those of you who don't know what pickup parties are, we got a few people who do. This is where people in the community host a party. And we get a number of people who all say, well, I want to do this, and I want to do this. And this has gone anywhere from a dinner party to sailing on the bay to a karaoke party to a little art workshop. Whatever strikes your fancy, if you've got something that you're interested in, you can host a party. We're at the phase of collecting party ideas. And so if you've got an idea, you can email party@unitypaloalto.org. And once we get a list of parties, which we're going to gather in the next 2 weeks or so, then the next stage happens where everybody gets to sign up to go to a party. So we're going to collect a bunch of party ideas, we're going to compile them, and then we're going to make them available so that you can sign up and attend a party. It's fun, and it's a great way to get to know other people here at Unity Palo Alto. So if you've got an idea, or if you are interested in ideas, start thinking about it. Send an email to party@unitypaloalto.org. And it is the last Sunday of the month, so we are going to move on to blessing each other. So we should have the website to get all the details. I think I've mentioned that before. And so check that out, and then we should have a blessing for each other. Coming up, there it is. So let's all hold our hands up and bless one another if we say this together. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the light in you. Excellent. And now, if you will stand and sing our song of peace.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, and we all are we.
And now our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Love and blessings, everyone. Have a wonderful week and be your best self.
Tracy for playing drums with us today. Just